Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. We've been talking about the ongoing Ghislaine Maxwell saga as she tries and maneuvers herself into a position where she has the narrative set that she is being so mistreated in jail, that she is being treated so poorly in jail. And with the COVID outbreak on top of that, how can't you give her bail? Well, we know that the prosecutors sent a letter to the court and explained the treatment of Ghislaine Maxwell and pretty much slapped down the assertions made by her and her legal team. Well, of course, that wasn't going to be where it ends. Ghislaine Maxwell and her legal team have filed a brief now with the court, and they're disputing what the federal government is saying. They're disputing what the Bureau of Prisons is saying. And of course, we knew this was coming, right? Again, Ghislaine Maxwell and her legal team, they're not going to just sit on their hands. They're not just going to take it laying down and say, sure, put me in prison for the rest of my life. They're going to use whatever is necessary to try and get this vile woman this new bail hearing and then get her out of jail while she awaits trial. That is their goal. And they will use whatever loophole, whatever technicality, whatever they possibly can to try and achieve this goal. Now, so far, the judge has not really been too receptive to Ghislaine Maxwell and her strategies. Their legal team, Ghislaine Maxwell's legal team, has taken loss after loss in multiple courtrooms as they try and navigate their way through this very dangerous obstacle course that is Ghislaine Maxwell and the truth. See, it's difficult to defend a client when you know that that client is not innocent. And you see that whole entire strategy form before your eyes as they continue to try and find those technicalities, right? This is never going to be a case where her lawyers are like, oh yeah, she's innocent, she didn't do any of this stuff. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for some sort of technicality, some sort of loophole, some sort of narrative that they can run with, like this one. Oh, the judge, she's being treated so badly. She's not getting treated like the rest of the inmates, and she's getting a flashlight shined in her face every 5 minutes, and they try and build that narrative, and they wrap it up with the COVID pandemic, and then that becomes their talking point, right? Oh, she should be let out. Her conditions are terrible in jail as it is. And then you add this COVID on top of it. You have to let her out. And that is the position that her legal team has right now. And they're going to do everything that they can to try and push that narrative and to get Judge Nathan to sign off on it. So they fired off their brief in response to the brief that was sent over by the prosecutors, and that is what we're going to talk about this morning. So this article is from the New York Post. Headline: Ghislaine Maxwell losing her hair from onerous imprisonment, lawyers say. This article was authored by Rebecca Rosenberg. So the jail conditions are what's causing her to lose her hair, huh? I doubt it. Maybe the stress brought on by being in jail can make you lose some of your hair. But just being in jail, all of a sudden you go bald. All of a sudden you lose those locks. And now you're rocking a Telly Savalas balded head? What does that even mean? The conditions in jail are making her lose her hair. How about the fact that she's stressing constantly about never seeing the light of day again? That's making her lose her hair, probably. I mean, look, I don't work at the Bosley Hair Club for Men or anything like that, but you know. Conditions in jail are so tough for Ghislaine Maxwell, the accused pedophile procurer, co-conspirator, fellow scumbag, general all-around scumbag, and bipedal serpent, is losing her hair and is wasting away to skin and bone, her lawyers complained in a new court filing. And now, remember, this comes on the tail end of the prosecutors sending their brief over and denying all of this already, because these assertions were made by her legal team previously, remember. And they've been talking about how bad her conditions are in jail, how terrible things are for Ghislaine Maxwell in jail for pretty much the whole entire duration of her stay so far. And certainly since Bobby Sternheim has joined the team. That has been one of the constant talking points for Bobby Sternheim since she's joined Ghislaine Maxwell's legal team. And she has been laser focused on trying to leverage some of these technicalities into a get-out-of-jail-free card for Ghislaine Maxwell. While her weight may currently be fairly consistent, she had lost over 15 pounds, and she is sustaining hair loss, wrote attorney Bobby Sternheim in the letter to U.S. District Judge Allison Nathan, who is overseeing Maxwell's sex trafficking case. Again, stress can cause all of that, right? Anxiety, stress, lose weight, stop eating, withdraw. All of that stuff can occur. And is she under a lot of stress? Hell yeah. Is she experiencing a ton of anxiety? Probably. So again, I don't think it's the actual prison stay that is causing her to have any sort of issue, lose some hair maybe, or lose a couple of pounds. Pretty sure that has to do with the stress of being in prison. The filing was in response to a letter the Federal Bureau of Prisons sent the judge, insisting that Maxwell is well cared for and has maintained a healthy 134-pound weight while at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Now, we know that according to Ghislaine Maxwell's legal team, she's saying that Ghislaine lost 15 pounds. But according to the brief filed by the Department of Prisons, they said she was fluctuating between a couple of pounds, give or take. So, like usual, there's three sides to the story. Her side, the government side, and then the truth. Because the government's smarmy too, folks, believe it, right? So I take everything they say to me with a grain of salt as well. But it's obvious what Ghislaine Maxwell is up to here. She's definitely trying to leverage this. Her lawyers are trying to leverage this. And they're going to use any tool that they find in their toolbox that they think can get the job done, even if it's not the proper tool, right? Sometimes you got to use the back end of the measuring tape to hammer in the nail. And that's what these people are doing right now. They're scrambling, looking for any avenue, any foothold that they can dig their feet into and build a proper strategy to try and get her off the hook. Because again, they'll never, ever, 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 ever be able to win in a trial, in my opinion. A jury of her peers is going to hear the evidence laid out before her, and it is going to be a real rough go for her lawyers to try and get this lady off the hook, especially considering just the circumstantial evidence that's available to us. And imagine if they go and get all of these girls, the ones from Palm Beach, all the little high school girls, all the girls that were abused after, and they come in and they testify against Ghislaine Maxwell one after one. And you just have a line of girls that are testifying against Ghislaine Maxwell. How is her defense team supposed to counteract that? Well, my client says she didn't do it, so that's the end of that. Let's wrap this trial up. She's looking at big-time trouble. And if they really go after this case the way they should, and they continue to prosecute this case in a aggressive manner, then the only hope Ghislaine Maxwell has, in my opinion, is one of these technicalities or one of these loopholes. Maxwell's lawyers have frequently complained about the terrible terms of her confinement, including frequent strip searches, being awoken every 15 minutes by a flashlight at night to ensure she's still alive, and countless meals consisting of no more than bread and butter. Oh, I don't buy that. I certainly don't buy that. Just bread and butter? What is this, 1956 at Leavenworth? Give me a break, bread and butter. Maybe that's all she's chosen to eat off of her fantastic spread of bologna, corn, 18-day-old cornbread, and then some bread and butter. Maybe she chose just to eat the bread and butter, but I'm sure she was provided with a full meal like every other inmate. 3 hots and a cot. That's the deal when you go and have a stay, courtesy of the federal government. Sternheim wrote that while her meal plan may be in compliance with the BOP policy now, it was not for the first 6 weeks of her incarceration. Oh, I'm sure that she was just being starved. They weren't giving her any food whatsoever. They were like, "Starve, Ghislaine. You're not having any food." That's what they would have you believe. That the prison guards would come by, and it was like Shawshank Redemption. They'd beat her, they'd pull her out of the cell, they'd strip search her in a violent manner, and then, once she starts calming down and she starts falling asleep, they point a flashlight in her eyes. Give me a break, okay? She gets a flashlight pointed in her cell, like every other convict. That's what it's called when they're, doing the rounds. She has been kept in isolation and been denied access to education and leisure programs, movies, religious services, and other opportunities, the letter states. Wait a minute. All of a sudden she's religious? She's found God now? She's going to go and do some hallelujah, do a little bit of a hallelujah? And as far as education, the Oxford-educated Ghislaine Maxwell is going to take a few community college courses while she's in the Hooskow, huh? All right, okay, I guess. Maybe if there's a course on morality, maybe she should take that, because she obviously skipped that course at Oxford. And leisure programs? What does that even mean? What, is she going to be out on the yard with the other girls making friendship bracelets? Her lawyers really think you're stupid. They really think you're dumb. And they think you're going to believe this nonsensical narrative that they're trying to pitch. But they're wrong. Leisure time, huh? Leisure time is for people who didn't abuse children, Ghislaine. It's obvious that Miss Maxwell is bearing the brunt of BOP incompetence, Sternheim wrote. No, she's bearing the brunt of her own incompetence, her own disgusting deeds, and her own vile way of life. The Department of Corrections and the Bureau of Prisons, well, that's just part of your new journey, Ghislaine. Get used to it, okay? Get very, very, very used to it. Because while the Department of Prisons, the Bureau of Prisons, might be incompetent, if anyone has ever deserved to be in custody, it most certainly is this bipedal serpent, in my opinion. She said the MDC has imposed extraordinarily onerous conditions of constraint on Miss Maxwell to avoid the catastrophic consequences of negligence occurring at the MCC that resulted in the death of Jeffrey Epstein. Well, shouldn't you be happy about that if you're the lawyer? What, you want her to get killed? Does that benefit you or something, Miss Sternheim? If she kills herself or something happens to her, what then? No more gaudy checks rolling in for you. So what is it that you propose? Do you propose that she leaves isolation and she's put on the main line? Do you propose that she is given a whole wing of the jail to come and go as she pleases? What is it exactly that you propose? Oh, we know. Has nothing to do with any of this. It's all about trying to get her out. That is what you're setting up, Miss Sternheim. It is so transparent what these people are up to. Maxwell's alleged co-conspirator, fellow child abuser, general all-around scuzzbag, and bipedal serpent as well, Jeffrey Epstein hanged himself at the BOP's Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan last year while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. Hanged himself, huh? You mean allegedly hanged himself? I'm sure him and Nicholas Tartaglione were discussing, chicken cutlet parmesan recipes and how Jeffrey Epstein could, make a proper Sunday sauce. Sternheim demanded that the warden be called before the court to debrief the judge directly on the conditions. Well, look, to be honest with you, I don't think it's a bad idea if the warden gets called before a judge at some point anyway for this facility to make sure the whole facility is being managed correctly. Not about what Ghislaine Maxwell's up to. You really think the warden has time for that? As if there isn't, X amount of other prisoners that have to be facilitated and maintained and watched over. So the warden should come down and have a chat about Ghislaine Maxwell. What makes her so effing special? The back and forth over Maxwell's confinement comes as her attorneys have renewed her bid for bail. That right there tells you everything you need to know, that one little portion of this article. The back and forth over Maxwell's confinement comes as her attorneys have renewed her bid for bail. That's what this is all about, folks. That's all that this is about. They know that Maxwell's being treated like anybody else would be treated in there. They know that. But they're going to try and spin it. They're going to try and dress up the facts. And they're going to try and sell it to you as if she is being treated like she is in a Soviet gulag. After her arrest in July on charges she recruited girls and women to be sexually abused by her and Epstein, Nathan denied her bid for release on a $5 million bond. $5 million? That was a weak proposal anyway, by the way. How are you going to come with a weak-ass, sorry-ass $5 million proposal for bail when Epstein was talking about $100 million? Because, I'll tell you, in my opinion, Ghislaine Maxwell was just as bad as Jeffrey Epstein. She wasn't some shrinking violet. She wasn't somebody who was just getting orders and doing a yes man routine. She was hatching these plots. She was making sure that they went into motion. And the lieutenants below her, the Core Four, well, they were there to make sure that Ghislaine and Jeffrey's orders were followed to a T. In a November 25th letter to the judge, unsealed Monday, Maxwell's lawyer, Mark Cohen, asked that the bail application be filed under seal to protect her friends and family who plan to co-sign the bond. Zero chance that's occurring. This will all be a public spectacle. This is something that the public has an interest in, and the days of hiding in the shadows for these people are over. If you're going to sign the bond to try and get Ghislaine Maxwell out and you're going to co-sign her, then that's probably going to come with some scrutiny from the media, right? You would think. Now, should anybody be giving anyone, sending death threats to anybody or threatening anybody? Hell no. Hell no. That's lunatic behavior. But as far as talking about people who co-sign these bonds or people that are involved in trying to spring her, hell yeah, that's going to be discussed. It's an important part of the story. It adds context, right? All of the people that are around her, all of the people that are working with her and for her to try and get her out, they're all parts of this story. And the second that you put your name down on a legal document like this, you inject yourself into that story. And people are going to have some questions. They are legitimately afraid that if their identities become public, they will be subjected to the same relentless media scrutiny and threats that Miss Maxwell has experienced, Cohen wrote. Again, anybody out there threatening anybody else is an absolute moron. The idea is to air these people out and put pressure on prosecution to bring them to justice. And furthermore, have people around Maxwell receive some shitty emails probably? Yeah, probably. That's just the nature of the beast, right? But unfortunately for them, they're defending a very vile person. And there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of questions. So while I'll never condone any sort of abusive, bullying behavior or threatening people, that's a bunch of bullshit, I do support hard questions. And guess what? Those hard questions don't have to be framed nicely. These people for way too long have gotten off with softball questions if questions were even ever asked. And now things get ramped up a little bit and some hard questions come in from a few different areas, different people. And all of a sudden it's, oh, we're being harassed. Oh, we're being threatened. And I don't buy it. Just more fodder for the narrative, more fodder for their narrative. And it goes to help bolster their argument that Ghislaine Maxwell should be out of jail waiting for bail, at least in their mind. The filing included examples of several death threats against Maxwell posted to social media. The judge has agreed to redact the names of friends and family in court papers, but not to seal the entire filing. So, I'm pretty sure anybody who has ever had any sort of publicity has received death threats on social media. Have you folks taken a look at Twitter lately and the unhinged behavior you see on there on a regular basis? So I'm sure there's been some wild-ass people posting some wild-ass shit on social media. But they'll blow that up into, like, there's a faction of ninja assassins on the trail looking to get Ghislaine Maxwell and her family. When that's not the case. People have questions. Some of those questions are hard, and some of those questions might be gruff. But guess what? Ghislaine Maxwell has herself to blame for all of this. She created this for herself. She chose to cavort with Jeffrey Epstein. She chose to be involved in this criminal conspiracy, and she chose to help abuse these children and girls. So if you're going to co-sign for somebody like this, and you're going to come out swinging in her defense, don't think that you're not going to be met in the center of the octagon and challenged. Because this lady right here is as vile as they come. I don't see one single reason why she should be out on bail while she awaits her trial. And all of the stuff that her legal team has brought before us, all of the assertions that they have made, they have provided no evidence of any of this. These are all just assertions, and as far as I can tell, a bunch of hyperbole from her legal team. So hopefully Judge Nathan recognizes all of this for what it is. She seems to be doing that. And I can understand the redacting of some of the names. I get that, right? Eventually it's all going to come out. But I understand some of the redacting of the names. If there's some maniacs contacting these people, I get it. But at the end of the day, it's not going to stay private forever or for long. It's going to come out who is defending Ghislaine Maxwell, who is putting up dough for her to get out of jail. All of that stuff's going to come out. And we know that she still has friends. We know that she still has some connections. I've said it from the jump, though, that she has been burned as an asset. She no longer is afforded the protections that she had while she was being run as an asset with Epstein. Those protections are long gone, but she still does enjoy some of the contacts she once had, and she might have that dirt on some of these people as well, and you would think she does, right? So that puts her still in a pretty decent position to try and perhaps twist an arm or two to get some help here. But as far as having the backing and protection of the intelligence community, that's done. She's burned as an asset, just like Epstein, and now they're left to float on their own. And all those ties that they had to intelligence, be it, Mossad, the CIA, Russian intelligence, whatever it may be, all of those ties, all of that evidence that ties them together has been burned, just like their assets, Epstein and Maxwell, because that's how the intelligence community works. You're never going to be able to put together a puzzle and have it show the intelligence community's fingers in this. That's going to only be done by hard-charging forensic accounting work. My question is, when in the hell are we going to start seeing that? If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode are in the description box. All right, folks, I'll be back later on tonight with the Daily Drop. I hope everybody has a fantastic day.